my first novel, The Rockle, I started writing it probably 99. It took me 4, 5, 6 years to get it written, at stoplights, the kids went to bed, lunches when I could do it. I wrote anytime I could. I finished that novel after all those years, and I typed it on an old fashioned 286 laptop, if people can remember, with a 5.5-inch floppy disk. Yeah. No one told me that 5.5-inch floppy disk would not hold all those rewrites and all that information. And I never backed it up because I didn't know that you had to. They told me that it was all there forever. I literally, and this is no joke, one night I typed the end, hit save one last time, and the computer blinked and the screen went blue. And 2 words came up, file corrupted. And it was gone. It was gone in an electronic hiccup. And I took it to a tech that said he could pull it off. And it was a 140,000 word novel. I didn't know any better at the time. I thought the thicker it was, the better book it was. 140,000 words were just gone. And so I came home and bought a new computer and a bottle of Glenlivet and drank the Glenlivet, plugged the new computer in, and I had to start all over. And I typed that first line one more time, we're from up on the river. And then I had to recreate that entire novel from memory. And so that's what took so long to get it out. And then when it came out in 2011, I retired. The book came out. I was offered a movie deal that my horrible agent blew, and they withdrew the offer because she was playing games with him. But it got me to the point where I understood how to write a novel, that I knew the basics of it. And so the book came out. My publisher called. They said, well, the book's doing great. It's, Kirk has said it was one of the best mystery novels of 2011. And you got one just recently from Publishers Weekly, if I'm not mistaken. You got a star review of your most recent book. And so, with that behind me, I'm saying, I think, well, now I'm just going to write it out. This is kind of fun. And my publisher said, oh, Rev, we need another book. And I had not thought about that. And so I had to sit down and write the next novel and get it done in about 6 months instead of 10 years. And so that was the biggest challenge for me. And the biggest change was I get up in the mornings, drink coffee, and start working on my novel and play with all my imaginary friends all day long until the end of the day. And so that was the dramatic change that I had, and the realization that this is how authors that I always wanted to emulate, this is how they operate. And so that's been my life ever since.
Right. It's a great story. So you type it all out. You have 140,000 words. You lose all of that. And so you went about, did you try to kind of, you can't recreate that word for word, I'm sure, but did you try to kind of recreate it beat for beat, or did it take on any new aspects to it after that?
No, it didn't. In fact, I was surprised. I rewrote it almost verbatim. I'd been working on it for so long. I knew every chapter. I knew every character. The dialogue was real to me because a lot of the dialogue, that my first novel was based on a true story. And so I had all that storyline in my head growing up. So that one, I couldn't do it today. I couldn't rewrite a novel. In fact, today I'm working on my second horror Western, and I'm not linear as I write a novel. So I kind of work on a little bit, this character, jump chapters, write an entire chapter, write the novel, and then all of a sudden this chapter finds a place and it locks in. My head doesn't work like everyone else, but I went back and reread it. I'm at 60,000 word count right now. I'm just now getting out of the second act, but I kind of lost my thread. So I went back and reread it, and I read a chapter that I had literally forgotten that I wrote. And so I could not go back and recreate that novel if I lost it at all. It would have to be completely new. So then working on that one that was so familiar to me, I was able to recreate it. And again, the second time was 140,000 words again when I wrapped it up to the end. And then we sold it to Poison Pen Press. And then they came back and they're looking at me like, you're a new writer, bless your heart. You don't really know what you're doing. And my editor at the time, she goes, this is great. We're going to publish, but we're going to make a series out of this, not just a standalone novel. She is, but here's the one thing I have to ask for you to do is go back and take out 50,000 words. And I looked at her like she was crazy. What? She goes, a novel, typical mystery novel, what the style that you're writing is about 90,000 words. You need to cut it down, cut all the fat out of it. And I said, lady, you're asking me now to delete 100,000 words because I had to rewrite this the second time, and this is going to make my head blow up. She goes, trust me, when you're finished with it, you won't notice. And, she was absolutely right. She was one of the best editors I've ever had. And she taught me so much, which she kind of felt sorry for me is because I didn't know what I was doing. I kind of waded into this thing and wrote this book, and it was successful. So yeah, that was dramatic for me. And after that, now I shoot for 90. Sometimes I jump over to 100, but it's usually a 9,000 word manuscript.
Right. Very good. What did that teach you then just about, and maybe it didn't teach you anything, maybe you already had it in you because clearly you had the determination to push through and rewrite it. But what did it teach you just about perseverance, like in general?
Well, I'm hard-headed. I don't quit. And you back me into a corner, I'm going to still come out clawing. And if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to figure out a way to do it. So that's just something that was ingrained for me from my dad, who never quit. Dad was, World War II vet. He was over in the Pacific Theater. And the one thing he told me, and the one thing I told all my girls over and over, and I'm telling my grandkids that you never give up, never give up. And that goes for writing.
Right. Yeah. Amen. That's what I always think, because one of my wife used to tease me, because when we were first dating and married, I would never tell people I was a writer. And she would notice, she's like, why don't you tell them? And I was like, it was kind of twofold usually. One is half the time it's like someone like in a cab, and like they probably don't even read things, right? They're like, well, what do you write? And if you're not, Stephen King or J.K. Rowling's, right, they don't really know. Right. Or it's a movie, right? Or they don't know. And then they'll inevitably tell me about the great novel that they're about to write, right? That they never end up writing, right? You just hear it, you're like, so it's like, oh, but about this novel I'm going to write, So it's a real testament to you, the fact that not only did you write that novel, that, for one, I mean, I always tell everyone on this show, because a lot of people, like yourself, that, you have great credentials, right? And I love having people that are just more starting out. And they'll be like, oh, how can I be on here like the John Gilstraps and these people? And I'm like, you know what? You wrote a book. Like, you're a writer. Like, I'm good. Once you're doing the thing, you're a writer. Like, get rid of the imposter stuff. You're doing it. You go through the hard work. I'm with you. The success part, that's part talent. That's part luck. That's all these different, timing and everything else, right, that goes into it. But you're a writer. Just be you. But the fact that you had to do it twice, like just starting, like that is pretty amazing on your part there.
Well, thank you. It was a stumbling block, but I overcame it. I didn't give up. I just kept on. And that's why I teach writing courses too, and whole classes on. I just keep telling everybody, you can talk about it all day long, but until you start putting it on paper, then you're not an author. And then once you get it published, there you go. Now you have made it, and you can call yourself an author, and then you can go write the next one. And that's the other thing too, is once you finish that one, then you have the tools and your in your toolbox to go on and do another one, and that's what I've done. And I've retired in 11, so 13 years. I've written 20 novels, 21 when I finish this one the next month, and all but 2 of them are in mine. I ghost wrote a couple of novels just for the fun of it, because someone asked me to do that. I won't do it again because it irritates me to see how well it's doing, and it's not under my name. But that was another goal, something else I'd always wanted to do, and I'd wanted to try that. And it worked out for me that way. But it's pretty cool to see your name on the spine of a book on a bookcase.
Right. Yeah. It is. It's funny. It's one of those things too. It's like you have it. It's like you get it published, and that feels great for, if depending on the person. For me, it feels great for about like 30 seconds, and then I'm already like, well, what do I got to do? Like, you want to award something, it's like, oh my god, and then it's just like, oh, let's we just kind of feel like, okay, well, that's that. Like I had on Stephen Hunter, and he had won a Pulitzer, right? So I asked him about it, and he's just like, I don't know. I don't know that it really did anything for me. You know, he's like, it was kind of circling. I was kind of open for it, but you know, he's like, hey, man.
Well, it's Steve. He's one of those, one of those old school writers, and he's been around a long time. And and he and I shared some stories together too at conventions. And he's like that. He just goes, you know what? I just write it, and I hope to tell a good story. And if people like it, they like it. It's great.
Yeah.
You know, if they don't, I'll write another one, and we'll go. That's like the same thing. Joel, I don't know if you know Joe R. Lansdale out of Texas. Joe's a great friend of mine, and he was another inspiration for me to get started. And Joe says, I just write for me. He says, I just write like I'm the last person in the world. I write my novel, and if people love it, that's great. But if they don't, well, you know, then they're dead already, so it doesn't make any difference. And I'll go write another one. He's a little dark sometimes, but that way of thinking kind of helps get you all, you know, it gets you away from the reviews and what people, you know, what people say. I tell folks, don't take reviews to heart. You know, it's a bad one, it's going to make you feel bad. If it's a good one, it's going to make you feel good. But at the end, you're you, and you're still writing your novels, and you're doing the best that you can. And you know, the sales and the success of the book is what's telling, not just the one person, whether they're professional review or just, you know, or a reviewer for Goodreads or whatever they write for. I want them to enjoy my work, but I'm not devastated if they give me, you know, 3 stars. I got a 1-star review once because the cover was torn when the lady got it when she ordered it. You know, that says a lot about the quality of the work right there. So
yeah.
just go on, do your job.
Yeah, exactly. I love that notion too, is this because you hear people say, who's your ideal reader, right? And I've never had one, but I think I'm with the gentleman you mentioned. I just write, I'm writing for me most of the time, right? Or like you talked about. And I think it's very true for me is that when, you know, you kind of write from, there's a place of brokenness or trauma. And I think like, you know, there's a writing that comes from that. At least a good majority of my writing, I think, probably does go to that to some degree, like some direct, some not at all direct. But I think, you know, writing for yourself, that is like, for one, if you really write it for yourself, we're not all so unique. If you write that, someone else will be able to relate to you know, what you experienced and what you're thinking. And then it kind of does get you away, because if someone else that doesn't enjoy it, well, then that's fine. Yeah, can't please everyone.
I'm sorry you don't like my hair color, my mustache. That's not going to make me change. I'm going to keep writing and do the, you know, write a good story, do the best I can on each one of them.
Thanks everybody for checking out this clip of Writers Drinking Whiskey. If you'd like to catch the full episode, click the link up here, and please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and check out our members only section. Cheers.